Alright, so we have just finished up the chapter on imperialism, and we've seen the United States grow, whether through acquiring of Hawaii or Alaska, and also through the Spanish-American War. We got places like the Guam and the Philippines. Alright, well, all of this nationalism, imperialism, is going to lead to the First World War. And this video is going to be kind of an introduction into what caused the World War and how all the countries were getting involved in it. And then we'll further go deeper into the actual war. But before we start, it's important that you know that there's four main causes of World War I. Obviously, there's a ton, but we're going to specifically narrow it down into four big causes. Those four causes are nationalism, imperialism, which we just looked at, militarism, and formations of a system of alliances. And we're going to go through each one of those four specifically, and you'll have a better understanding over really what caused World War I. And we'll start with nationalism. Nationalism, by definition, is a devotion to the interests and culture of one's nation. So really, they were looking out for what's good for them and for their own culture. And some nations at this time really felt like they were protectors for the smaller nations who were being dominated by someone else. So like one specific example of this, and we can look back a little bit later, but was Russia. And they saw themselves as a protector of the Slavic countries. And the Slavic countries wanted their independence from Austria-Hungary. Kind of like in the last chapter when we looked at the United States really being a protectorate of Cuba. Okay, Russia was a protectorate of the Slavic countries, and they were under Austria-Hungary. Those Slavic countries were very nationalistic countries. They were interested in their culture and their own nation. A second reason for the World War I to break out was imperialism. And you should know by now what imperialism is. It's the process of building your empire in order to receive raw materials and to provide new markets. Countries started to compete with one another for those desired colonies, a cause of World War I. Militarism is the development of armed forces and their use as a tool of diplomacy. And we've talked about diplomacy before, but that is international relations. So building up their armies. The growth of nationalism, the first cause, and the growth of imperialism, the second cause, really required these countries to start to grow their military even bigger. The fourth and final cause of World War I, one of the bigger ones, was the formation of a system of alliances. By 1907, there were two major allies. The Triple Entente was one, later known as the Allies, and this group of people that worked together, or group of countries, were France, Britain, and Russia. The Triple Alliance consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Germany and Austria-Hungary, together with the Ottoman Empire, were later known as the Central Powers, and the Ottoman Empire is an empire mostly of Middle Eastern lands controlled by the Turks, and we'll get further in depth with that later. But really the big spark of the war, those were four causes that led to the war, but the real spark that set everything off happened in the Balkan Peninsula. And if you don't remember the Balkan Peninsula from geography, okay, it's known as the powder keg of Europe because there's many ethnic rivalries there, and some of Europe's strongest powers wanted to access those regions. They wanted colonies there. They wanted to practice imperialism, one of the causes of the war. So they all had their focus on the Balkan Peninsula. So on June 28th, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, he was the heir to the Austrian throne, he visited Sarajevo, which is the Bosnian capital. As he was being driven through that capital, a Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip shot him and his wife. So Gavrilo Princip shot Franz Ferdinand in the Bosnian capital. Alright, Princip was a member, the one that shot him was a member of the Black Hand. The Black Hand is a group that supported Serbian nationalism. Okay, it all fits together. Remember, nationalism was the first cause we talked about in World War I, a devotion to the interests and culture of one's nation. So Princip, the man who shot Ferdinand, he was a member of the Black Hand, a group that supported Serbian nationalism. Because of the assassination, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia because he was the heir to the Austrian throne. So now there's a war between Austria-Hungary and Serbia, and that kind of brought everyone else in because we had all these tight alliances. On August 1st of 1914, Germany declared war on Russia. Okay, because they were a protector. They were with that ally of Austria-Hungary. On August 3rd, Germany declares war on Russia's ally France. So first they declare on Russia, then they declare it on Russia's ally, which was France, and then Germany invaded Belgium, and then so Britain declared war on Germany and Austria-Hungary. So it's a little confusing at first, but once you start to see the faces and all the individuals involved with these countries, you'll see how the connection really gets made between these alliances. And once you have the alliances down, you'll understand more and more why these nations keep coming in, and we'll eventually see how America gets in the mix of this, even though a lot of Americans wanted neutrality to stay out of the war.